Okay, here we go. Welcome, Tomas.
Great to be
Tomas,
here.
for those who won't know Tomas is someone I connected with earlier this year in an entrepreneurs community I'm part of, and he did a really powerful training. Actually, it was on sales, which we may get into a little bit today, and why that's so important, especially if we're looking to grow your own purpose-led business. But I was just saying to Tomas before we started today, I've been following him for a while on LinkedIn now, since we connected initially, and I really like his content because the feed is generally filled with strategy, tips, and steps and advice. And then I see one of Thomas's posts, and it's completely unique. It'll be a story about how he lost his bag on public transport, or there was one last week, I think, where a warthog was running past four lions, I think, in the Serengeti somewhere. So I've always you never know what's coming with Tomas, but that's what I like. It's uniquely him. And Tomas in particular focuses on coaching high performers, and particularly in the area of mindset and psychology. And why I thought we'd have a really great conversation today, because when it comes to purpose, align with purpose, it's about bringing all aspects of our being into alignment. So, the mental, which we're going to talk more about today, the physical and the spiritual, which is something I talk about a lot. But we're going to focus more today on what is that mindset of, being a high achiever, of creating a purpose-led business for yourself, and everything will challenges that come up on that path. But first of all, welcome, Tomas.
Thank you
I'd
for
love to
having me.
go. I'd love to go into first, because there was a phrase that I noticed on your website, which is really interesting, which is "okay is not enough," and that's something I really resonate with. But first of all, what does that phrase mean to you, and how did it formulate in terms of your own journey, in terms of your own path? Wherever you'd like to start, really.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me one more time, and great introduction. Really appreciate that. And yes, the phrase "okay is not enough" is very close to my heart. It's I use it as a kind of a tagline in my business, but it really is my personal philosophy. And it came about, I think, maybe 2015, 2016, when I was going through a business accelerator training. And until that time, so I was coaching for about 5 or 6 years, and I was doing very kind of generic coaching, coach anyone and everyone. If it was within the realm of what I understood, then I'd be happy to do that. And part of the training was that I needed to kind of focus. You need to have some sort of way to differentiate yourself, and also kind of niche. I wanted to narrow down who I wanted to work with. And I've been thinking about it and reflecting on clients that I worked with and so on. And I was trying to put it into words, because what I love is this whole concept of performance, just trying to see how good you can be and really getting the best out of yourself. One of the people that I love, David Goggins, he has a phrase, maybe kind of captures it a little bit. It says, I don't know where my limits are, but I want to go there. And so I love working with people who really want to see what's in them, what they're capable of. And reason for that is because when you go there, when you try to do better, it really is, I think for everyone so far, seems like very kind of fulfilling. It's very energizing. It's an exciting journey. It's a hard journey. But anyhow, I was trying to put it into words, and I remember distinctly I was on a tube train in London, and I was passing through West Hampstead Station, and I was chatting on messages with my wife. She's in marketing, so she understands all this. We were going back and forth trying to find the words, and she was saying, "Well, you love working with people who are like yourself, people for whom okay is not enough." And as soon as I read the message, I'm like, that's it. Those were the words. Like, that's the little phrase, okay, it's not enough. And that's truly how I feel. And we'll probably go into this whole concept, why okay, it's not enough. But that's Like, it's funny when something significant happened, you kind of remember that moment, kind of where you were, what was happening. That's how I know it was, it was the right thing, because it's just stuck in my mind. And since then, I've been living by it and using it in my marketing. And a lot of people who come and work with me, they often refer back to it when they see it on my website and they read it in my content. Like, okay, it's not enough yet. That's how they feel. But a lot of people are in that kind of okay zone. So yeah, that's a long story of how it all came around.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that phrase. I'm interested because it's really important, like for anyone here who's at the start, maybe the entrepreneurial journey, why that's so important. I had to learn this lesson the hard way is you really want to talk to the person, your ideal client in your messaging and not to everybody like that one, and have that one specific person in mind. And as you said, for the type of person who resonates with that, not everyone will resonate with that. Okay, is not enough. Some people will just be, quite happily just doing, settling for a little bit less than their potential, which is fine. Another question I want to ask you about is that something that people are just, is it just inbuilt in certain people, or is that something that can be coached into someone to want to achieve more, to want to access their full potential? Or is it something that some people have and some people just don't have in your experience?
That's a really good question. And so if I expand on the concept a little bit, where see this okay, so not enough is it's more than just a phrase. I've really kind of unpacked it and just to understand for myself what drives me and why other people are driven and why other people are stuck and what makes us push and do what we do and sacrifice and start businesses or climb up mountains and all those things, is that there's a lot of psychology involved in this. And our brain, let's say our brain is inherently very lazy in a smart way, right? Everything in nature is trying to find the equilibrium between, I call it to be as little uncomfortable as possible with the least amount of effort, right? So just for life to be okay, right? It's just as water levels up, right? Or the river goes down the mountain through the path of least resistance because it makes sense. It's energy most efficient way of can state, and we all are drawn to that naturally. If we let our mind do its own thing, it will try to find a way for us to be okay, to be comfortable. It's this the comfort zone, right?
The path of least resistance.
Right, exactly. And again, it's okay. And you said it correctly. It really connects with someone. This is okay, it's not enough. And some people will get rubbed the wrong way with it. I get, pushback occasionally when people say, "Oh, okay, it's fine." If it's okay, if some people are happy with being in the okay zone, I'm happy for them. That's great. They found something that they're happy with. That's what most people search for their whole life. But for many people, is the okay zone is comfortable, but not very fulfilling, not very satisfying. They have this feeling like, I know I could do better. I know I could be in better shape. I know I could have a better relationship. I know I could do better in business. Maybe I could make more money. Maybe I can, branch off to, different niche that I know would excite me a lot more. And that feeling is really hard to shake off when you know that you could do better and you know that you have a lot of reserves, that you could push. And so through our work and in my life, I've met a lot of people who are okay, but they're not radiating with excitement. They're not radiating with fulfillment. And they are generally not telling you how incredible their life is, right? And so what I found is that it's people who are trying to, push through that okay and sacrifice that in order to see, can I make my life better? And so yeah, that's sort of the answer. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah, it's interesting. For me, there's a balance there between gratitude for who we are and where we're at, and also realizing that as a human being, your potential is limitless. I mean, that there is no ceiling, basically. So why not explore that? Yes, you can find. I have a gratitude practice every day. Grateful for everything in my life. Grateful for who I am, where I'm at, and realizing that actually where I'm at is perfect. It is perfect where I'm at in terms of what I've achieved, and yet I can be so much more. So that there's always that balance for me. It's like, okay, it's not that you're going where I'm at is not good enough and getting down on yourself and thinking I need to be somewhere else. It's a balance between, yeah, where I'm at right now, who I am is absolutely perfect, and yet I can be so much more. I think this is the balance that is difficult to find for people in my experience. Have you noticed that as well,
Oh,
Thomas?
100%. And I have a beautiful quote or phrase that captures what you're describing. I heard it many years ago somewhere and just really stuck with me. And it's to be blissfully dissatisfied.
Oh, nice.
Right? It's so good.
Yeah.
And if I kind of simplify it, it's which I heard somewhere recently as well. It's essentially somebody said it's okay to want more and be happy with what you have at the same time.
Exactly.
Right. And this is why I think some people really misunderstand being ambitious and want to do better and want to know or have more or progress. That, it means that you're really unhappy with what you have and you're always unhappy. That because, and this actually circles back nicely to this whole, okay, it's not enough. I always describe it as there are 3 zones where we can be in. The middle zone is the okay, it's the comfort zone. The above that is the success, the winning zone, whatever you want to call it. That's the ambitious part of the journey. And at the bottom is the rut, right? Or the kind of the struggle. Now, we are hardwired to be drawn to the okay zone. And we typically change our ways of doing things and, to push harder or step out of the comfort zone is when we kind of dip into the rut, when life gets too uncomfortable to tolerate it and to not do anything. And so we take action. And in that moment, it's not really about, do I feel like it or not? It's like, okay, I lost my job, or my partner's telling me it's going to leave me if I don't, do something, or the doctor says, hey, listen, you gotta get fitter because you have a high chance of heart attack or something. When we get scared, when we get in pain, that's when we usually put the work in, because we want to get back into the okay zone. And so most people have, this is like a very kind of default way of functioning. And most people have it associated, this is how it is. So in order for you to want to know more, you must be dissatisfied with what you have. But that's not true. You can be really happy with what you have and still aim for more. But again, you need to be willing to sacrifice that comfort to disturb the equilibrium where life is cushy, maybe life is fine, kind of okay fit, and you get good money, and you need to probably let that go, at least partially, in order to be working hard or finding ways to do better. So yeah, it's definitely possible to love what you have and to want more.
Yeah, I agree. And so much of my own journey has been about coming back to the present moment. Like I said, if you, and I guess this is a common thing you experience as well, Thomas, is this with high achievers, is this idea that I was speaking to someone on a client about this yesterday, that happiness exists in this future somewhere. Like the lady I was talking to was talking about, oh, I'm going to retire and I'm going to live on a beach and I just have to grind and grind and grind for the next 10 years to get to that future, which is not what we're talking about here, because there is a danger where you can just postpone your happiness to some future reality that might not ever come. And in fact, you might get to that place. Oh, here we go. I've retired. I'm living on the beach in Bermuda or whatever it is. And suddenly you hear this a lot from people. It's like, oh, I've got no purpose now. What do I do? How long can you sit there on a beach for? And just, sooner or later, that you get bored, and it's like, actually, I'm missing something. I'm missing that purpose. So it is always about, okay, I'm always saying that happiness exists in the present. Can you really be with what's happening right now? Can you appreciate and be grateful for where you're at and who you are? And also, yes, set yourself lofty goals for your income, for your business, your relationships, like you were saying. You can do both, but you have to learn, in my experience, how to be with the present and how to appreciate your present moment experience, because ultimately that's all we'll ever have. There is no imaginary future where it all works out and you live in bliss. That's not the human experience. There'll always be a challenge. There'll always be a difficulty that comes along as well.
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes I tell my clients, like, okay, great, you should set this goal and you should achieve it, just so that you find out it's not going to give you what you're hoping.
Yes.
Right. And I had CEOs or like directors, global directors of banks. They were just honestly 1 or 2 ladder steps from being really at the top. And they didn't feel like they're enough and they didn't feel successful. I mean, ridiculous salary, ridiculous accomplishment. And but they felt like, oh, I need that one more step. When I get there, then I will feel enough. Well, okay. Well, let's work on it. But I'm telling you already, that's it's not going to plug the hole that you're hoping that it will plug. But and with that, I think it's really important that people understand what game they're playing. Like, we all play a game in our life. We play a role, in other words, right? Like, for me, what really was a big breakthrough in just understanding myself is that I'm very driven, I like being productive. That's my whole thing. And the game that I play is to clear my to-do list, but at the same time, never let that happen.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know that as soon as I got, I'm in this, like, okay, I got on my to-do list, lots of things. I'm looking at here and it's exciting. I want to clear it, but I know if I have nothing on my to-do list, that's almost terrifying. Like, okay, this is it. This is as good as I can, have I done it all? Of course not, right? But I know that what I get a kick out of is improvement, growth, if we speak in kind of coaching language. And that's exciting to me. So as long as I have things to work on and grow through those, that's what excites me. But I need to keep the balance of, I need to keep things on my to-do list.
Yes. One thing I wanted to ask you, actually, I think it was a post today you wrote about this, or yesterday, about what I call sustainable success. So there has been this old energy in entrepreneurship or leadership where it's this hustle culture, where it's just like, you have to drive. If you want to build a successful business, you have to put in 80 hours a week and you have to be constantly working for weekends and evenings. And that's the only way to create a successful business, one that's you might be able to exit from, or one that has got a certain amount of employees or a certain amount of revenue. And I've got a different kind of mindset. But it's just the way I am, in that for me, it's more about lifestyle over revenue. So I'm optimizing more for my ideal day than figures. I'm just wondering about your approach to that in terms of how you help people with that, because yes, we want to be productive. Yes, we want to commit to the journey of growth, whether it's building a business or expanding our careers, whatever it might be. But what would you say about how to make that sustainable so we don't regularly burn out and have to take time out, or it doesn't jeopardize our relationships or our well-being?
Yeah, great question. So look, the reality of achievement, whether it's in business or sport and anything else, is that certain levels require certain amount of input. Right? If you want to be a really good runner, look at some of the elite runners. I do a lot of running, so that's kind of an example that I use a lot, because it has so much common with entrepreneurship. Like, some of the runners run, around 200 kilometers a week.
Oof.
That's what it takes to keep their body in their peak shape, so that they can maintain it. If we run 20 kilometers a week, you're just not going to be able to, run marathon in 2 hours and 10 minutes or something. Same with business. Like, you want to grow a business, let's be honest, there's an amount of input. I'm not saying necessarily work or hours, amount of input that needs to happen, that you need to can give it for the business to grow, to do your, I don't know, marketing, your LinkedIn posts, interaction, coaching clients, building the business. So there's no way around it. It just depends where you aim and how you do it. If we think of it as a distance, like, you can walk 10 kilometers, you can cycle it, you can drive it. Obviously, those different ways of covering 10 kilometers will take different amount of effort, right? So I think it's important to know where we're aiming at, be honest with ourselves, what it takes. Are we willing to pay the price? And again, you can do it the hard way. That's just the hustle culture. Look, it's not written anywhere that if you spend 80 hours sitting in front of your computer, you'll be a successful entrepreneur. That's not necessarily the recipe, right? There are people who work 3 hours a day and they have a successful business. I have a client who works about 2 hours a week and he has a very, very successful business. His problem is, what do I do with my time? Right? So there are ways, but he has a team. He has built really fine-tuned machine that this is what it requires on his part. So, but this whole hustle culture, I think it's I think it can be misleading for people who don't quite understand, the whole system. And if someone loves to work 8 hours a week, like, I love to work a lot. That's what I do. And I run with my running group, and my friends asking, "Oh, what are you doing in the afternoon?" On Saturday, I'm doing some work. I'm writing posts for LinkedIn, and so I enjoy it. It's just, I enjoy it. I have option to do other things, but this is what I choose to do. Some people like to work long hours, and that's cool. If they can sustain it, that's fine. It's not for everybody. And I think people need to be smart about how they work. It really is like being an entrepreneur is a little bit like being an athlete. There's this whole burnout badge of honor. I think I've heard or seen people almost bragging about burning out. It's like being an athlete and bragging about being injured. That would be stupid if you did that, right? And so in the same way, it's not really impressive. It means that if you're an athlete and you're injured, that means you probably did too much. You didn't do the basics, the strength and conditioning training and all that. You skipped something, you skipped the recovery, you're not sleeping enough, your nutrition is not on point, and the body breaks some way. Same with this kind of hustle, right? The point is to build, if we talk about business, because that's kind of the topic, right?
Yeah.
Business, to build a business takes a long time. Yes, you hear stories in 3 months and 7 figures and whatnot. Okay. There are exceptions to everything, but generally, to have a sustainable business, a lifestyle business, it takes a little bit of time. And so you need to think about, okay, can I maintain this level of effort for the next 5 years, right? And yes, maybe the startup phase is a little bit more intense than the maintenance phase. But even just like, can I do this for another 3 months? If the answer is yes, I'm good. I'm healthy and I have time for my family and hobbies and all that. Okay, great. That's probably a good indicator. If someone says, no, come on, I'm sleeping 4 hours a day and my wife is upset and my dog didn't get, wasn't fed for the last 3 days. Well, that probably is a problem, right? Like the balance is off. And again, it's like being an athlete. You have to allocate time for the training. That's the hustle part, but also nutrition, sleep, recovery, because in like those times or those activities are just as important, because that's where the growth happens as well, and that's where maybe you get your ideas. That's what makes it sustainable.
Agree. Yeah, this is something I'm always talking about. I think what I'm always saying to people is you have to tune in with your own intuition, like what feels right for you. Does it feel right for you to build that big performance business? Does it feel exciting for you to build the next Amazon or the next Tesla or whatever it is, and follow your own passion and excitement, and don't let anybody, tell you otherwise. Don't let anyone tell you that you should build, a lifestyle business if you're really passionate about performance business. And likewise, don't feel like the pressure you have to work 8 hours a week and hire a massive team if that just doesn't excite you or feel right for you. So it is very much about trusting your own intuition. And for me, it's always about prioritizing my own well-being, my own inner work practices, and then my family, and then work comes after that. But, for some people, they're so driven, it does become a case of, the work is my number one priority. And like I said, there can be other things that come out of balance there. And for me, a lot of the work I do with people is helping them integrate daily practices that just 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, just allow you to reset, process the emotions that are coming up. Even if meditation, it could be walking even, in the middle of the day. It helps me a lot just to kind of get away from the desk, away from the screen, process some of the energy and then come back to it, and that way you can continually be cleaning out this energy, the stress or the overwhelm as it builds up during the day. But let me just ask you about purpose, Thomas, because this is a big focus in this podcast. How important do you consider purpose to be? Because we all hear about these people who, reach the top of external achievement. They've got the money, they've got the big business, they've got the amazing lifestyle, and then they're still not happy. For me, a lot of that is due to purpose, which means, harnessing your own unique gifts and making a meaningful impact on people's lives. But how does purpose integrate into what you teach and help people with?
I think purpose is really important, and it probably means different things to different people. Not just in terms of values and so on, but in terms of what fulfills them. And so I have probably kind of kind of varied opinion about it. On one hand, okay, let me share a quick story with you. When I moved to Canary Wharf, we had a chat about this earlier, about 11 years ago. I was already coaching for a little bit, and I moved to Canary Wharf because I wanted to work with, the bankers, and obviously it's a great area. I wanted to work with bankers and traders and so on, and I wanted to be in the proximity of that. And I did have a lot of clients from that kind of line of work, and they were making ridiculous money. It's just the amount of money sometimes it's in finances is absurd. But they were so miserable, right? And they got into it as young guys, and many of them were still young guys because a little bit of ego, and that's what everybody's doing. And they studied finance, and they wanted to do the little Wolf of Wall Street kind of thing because at the time it seemed like what they wanted. They did the best they knew. This is what they pursued, and they got into it. And while the money was great, the stress is enormous, the lifestyle is horrendous. A lot of drugs and weekends were other extreme strip clubs and gambling and all that. And when we talked about this, I was wondering, how is it possible that they, like on paper, they have everything they wanted, and they're still so unhappy and so unfulfilled? Where, with my wife, we traveled a lot. We spent a lot of time in the Philippines, and we traveled around, and you meet people who have very little, like they live in, cardboard boxes, but like happy and generous, and I'm thinking, how is this possible? And not that the material wealth is the key to happiness, but you would think, come on, like would the difference be so stark? I'm generalizing a little bit, but when I thought about it, I realized, okay, those people in the Philippines, for example, although they didn't have much, they lived in alignment with their values, with what was important to them, which is family, it's their community, it's nature, is their aims are very different. Whereas those clients that I worked with, they were, as I call it, they were winning in the wrong game. They were, they're making crazy money. Look, at some point, having money is great, but at some point it stops making meaningful difference to your lifestyle. There's only so much you can buy and where you can live. And so they were fulfilling values that were not at the time very important to them. And a little segue, what I think it's important, sometimes people want to pursue something that seems to you, maybe as a coach, like, oh, I don't think this is what will make you happy, but I think people need to kind of get there and find out.
Yes.
Right. So, okay, I thought this was it, but it isn't. Because until they do so, it may live in their mind for the rest of their life. Oh, had I got that Porsche, I've got so many clients who have got like a sports car, kind of, midlife man just got Ferrari or something. Yeah, they thought, when I get it, and they bought it and they felt silly, right? Or they had it for 6 months. They listen, this is, I can't really take it anywhere. I feel a bit stupid, and they sold it, but they were happy that they ticked the box, right? And I think it's important sometimes to do those things where you find out that it's not for you. But anyway, going back to the purpose, is that I think what's really critical for people is to do that introspection with themselves or with guidance of a coach, and understand what their values, what their most important values are. And then finding ways to align their life with it, like the way maybe what they do for work, or kind of how they work, their hobbies, maybe where they live, trying to bring, I don't know, freedom and impact and money is important to them. Okay, am I going about my day in a way that will fill those values to a higher level? And I know that when people do, when their primary values are fulfilled to a high level, they're just so much happier and so much more fulfilled. And same with with business and so on.
Yeah, I love that. I love you have that deeper view on purpose. I mean, I've got an assessment that I send out to people. For me, there's 4 aspects, which is the self-awareness, the inner work, passion and values. So not just work, but your wider life. What do you devote your time to? What do you really love doing? Then work fulfillment, yes, because work's a big part of our lives. We spend most of our days working, most of us, and then future vision as well. What is the vision you have for your life, or the impact you want to have in your work? And that's really interesting, actually, because I've noticed the same. I've been to Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, and we were on the bus going through these towns, and the kids just run up and they just want to talk and they want to play with you and they want to give them gifts, etc. So happy. And when you were talking earlier, it reminded me of when I lived in London. I lived with there was a guy who was living in the house with us, and he was he'd worked in the city. He'd worked in Canary Wharf in finance and banking. And this guy was probably in his 30s, and he was when I say burnt out, he was the epitome of someone who was burnt out. He was an alcoholic. He was divorced, lost access to his children, and just basically gone, as a shell of a human being, basically. And like you said, but he had what society would deem he had it all, basically. He had the huge income. He could live wherever he wanted. He had the cars. He had anything he wanted. And yet there was also what you talked about. There was drugs and there was alcohol and there was the strip clubs and there was all that. And that had all just kind of eaten away at him over time. And he'd ended up just kind of completely broken in life, basically. I don't know what happened to that guy. I imagine it probably wasn't good. But that's just to say, then you go to somewhere like Africa and you see the kids and they're just so happy. But they wouldn't have necessarily done work with a coach around passion and what their passion and values are. They just know. And I guess they have had the same kind of level of conditioning that is pushing them in that direction towards, you must, in order to be happy, you must tick these boxes, only to realize that. I think Jim Carrey's got a great quote around this as well, which is something along the lines of, I wish everybody could have exactly what they want so they can realize that that's not the way, because he achieved all the fame, the relationships, the money, all of that. And he realized that it was empty. And obviously then he went on a very public inner journey himself of self-awareness and establishing his own purpose. So yes, I love that. It's so much deeper than just the work we do when it comes to purpose.
I love Jim Carrey. You probably saw this. I think it was Golden Globes. He had like a little speech. I'm butchering it, but essentially he was saying like, "Oh, I'm Jim Carrey. I'm the 2 times Golden Globe winner, and you may be wondering what it's like to be me." And he said, "It's brilliant. I'm happy. I go to sleep and I dream. I don't dream just any old dream. I dream of being 3 times Golden Globes winner, Jim Carrey, right?" And so I think this is the ambitiousness that I think it's okay. But actually, that reminds me of, I think it's really when it comes to purpose, people often have this kind of unfair idea that they should just know what their purpose is. I should just know what I'm here to do, or what my calling is, or what would fulfill me, whatever kind of angle people have to that. And that's silly. It's just compare it to relationships, right? Because I think with your purpose, you kind of fall in love with it. And with relationships, it's like saying, well, I should know exactly who my life partner is going to be. I should not just visualize, I should know the name of the person. I should know exactly where they live. That's silly. You wouldn't ever think that. How do you find your life partner? You go out there, you kiss some frogs, you meet some people, you have good days, you have good dates, you have bad dates. You meet someone, there is something. There's like, oh, this, I like something about them, and there's a little spark, and you meet them again, and you talk and get to know them, and this, you can fall in love. This relationship develops that is deeper than and more meaningful than with anyone else you've met before, maybe. And I think with purpose is very similar. You don't just sit back, oh my God, this lightning strike, and
yes,
no, you go out there, you try different things, you get some frogs, you pursue some goals you thought it was going to be it, or it isn't. Okay, you pivot, you try something else, and then you come across something that, I like this. This is giving me something. It's making me feel a certain way. Maybe it's working for a cause. Maybe it's the process of things. And then you feel like, well, you know what? Right now, this is the best thing I know, like to do. I can't think of anything else I'd rather do. I think it's a good way of sometimes describing purpose.
Yeah, I'm always saying this. It's always evolving. It's not like you hit it one day and, I've got it. I know my purpose. I'm set for life. It's always changing. Mine is in the last year is certainly what I call outer purpose. So the actions I'm taking through my work is always evolving, always changing. I always describe it as inner and outer purpose. So inner purpose is the work of what we call self-realization in the spiritual path. Basically, revealing who you are beyond your thoughts and your emotions, your conditioned mind. But the outer purpose, as you said, is different for everybody. It's changing all the time. This is what I'm focused on at the moment, which feels right. It might in 5 years, I might be focused in a different direction. It changes and evolves with us as we grow and evolve. And also, I just wanted to say there that, not necessarily demonizing the path of, somebody who is in Wall Street, someone who's working in banking in Canary Wharf, could actually feel very, that they're living a very purpose-driven life. They might be using that money and giving it to a charity they're particularly passionate about. And also, there's nothing wrong with making money either, because for me, money just gives you options. Basically, it's not going to necessarily make you happy, but I always think it can add to happiness. It really can add to happiness if you're using it in a productive, purposeful way. Like I said, maybe you build your own charity. Maybe you get the money to charity. Maybe it gives you the money to the lifestyle you want to live. So actually, money is a powerful tool, actually, but it won't necessarily make you happy on its own. For me, it's an energy that makes you more of who you are. So if you're unhappy, money is just going to add to that. But if you're an unhappy person, more money can actually amplify that, make you more of a happy person, give you more of an impact on other people's lives. So is that how you would look at money in particular, Thomas?
Yeah, definitely. I think, there's, I've gone through my own journey with kind of understanding money. And I think money is great. People often demonize it and it's a bad thing. Look, it's assuming that you obtain money the right way. As you say, it gives you options and makes your life better. You can, like, your cup is fuller, and you can pour more out
Yeah.
of the cup. You can make better life for your family, or you can be more generous. Like, money is not bad at all.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned this kind of Wolf of Wall Street and people in finance, like, if this is what makes them happy, great. Just because I don't understand it, who's to say? Sometimes when I go for runs in Canada Walk, when I was going, let's say around this time, winter time, and it's 2 degrees outside, and I see people, like triathletes, swimming, I'm thinking, in a million years I wouldn't do that. Madness.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it bad. It's just something they're passionate about, right? I don't get it. They probably don't. Well, they run as well, so they probably get me running. But some people see me running marathons and ultra marathons. They think this is insane. Why would you do that? That doesn't make it bad, just because we don't get it. And about purpose, you're totally right. There's this external kind of aims and targets, but correctly, there is this internal part as well. And I think a really good sign of whether you are aligned with your purpose is that if you feel good about who you are being in the moment, or when you're pursuing certain goals. So I had this, one of my clients asked me about she's trying to get into running, and she's not really enjoying it much. And I recently ran this 24-hour race on a athletic track. So 400-meter track, you run for 24 hours. It's a competition who runs further. And she was saying, like, did you enjoy it? Like, how do you enjoy it after 12 or 18 hours of running? I hated it. I hated it so much. Like, everything hurts. You're exhausted. The last thing you want to do is to run. I hated it. But I loved who I was being in the moment.
Right.
I loved being that guy that ran for 24 hours and that was pushing through discomfort when your feet are swollen and everything is hurting. And being that person who's kind of pushing through that because he said he would, and he wants to see what he's capable of. Like, I really enjoy that. That's, for me, is a big part of my purpose. So I think that's whatever it is that people do. If you really enjoy who you are being as a person in that moment, I think that's a really good sign that you're onto something.
Yeah, that really resonates. I mean, it's exactly what I was just thinking about, the process of building a business, because it is difficult, it is challenging, it sucks at times, because sometimes you can have good months and sometimes there's not much happening, and that brings up stuff. I'm familiar, the journey of entrepreneurship is an amazing mirror for our own stuff. It's constantly bringing up stuff like self-doubt, sabotage, imposter syndrome. That's why I love the journey of entrepreneurship. Not necessarily just because the lifestyle freedom and the money you can earn from it, but if you can love the journey of growth, then there's no stopping you. Because for me, it's like, okay, great, here's some really challenging stuff. Here's some self-doubt. Here's some fear that I get to feel through and process, that will expand my energetic container. So that's the thing. If you're running a race, if you're attending a plant medicine retreat in the Amazon, or if it's building a business, if it's uncomfortable, it means you're growing, and that then it is the real power and the gold in the journey, not necessarily the end goal outcome. It's the person you become along the way. And if you're going to love that process, then nothing can stop you. You will be, because it's all up. I always had said this on the last podcast. When you look at something like LinkedIn, a lot of the mindset advice from the top coaches or entrepreneurs is very similar. It's basically, you just have to commit for long enough to get to the result, for however long it takes. That's the key to success, isn't it? Ultimately, you just got to keep going. And so, but if you can love the journey and the challenges that come up along the way, then you will see it out for long enough to achieve the goal of the success that you're looking for. But if you get sideswiped by every challenge that comes along, and you get stuck in procrastination and self-doubt for long periods of time, then you're not going to stick with it long enough to get the result. So I love what you say there. It really is. If you can love the journey, if you can love the challenges, if you have a way to process all the difficult stuff that comes up along the way, then there's no doubt that you will keep going long enough to achieve the goal, whatever that is for you.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. If you love who you're being, like if you think, oh my God, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm pushing through those things, and people don't realize it's the resistance it's the challenge and the obstacles that make it exciting.
Suffering.
Because if it's easy, like a lot of things in our life, brushing your teeth is easy. I don't know, popping downstairs to the supermarket, it's easy. How fulfilling is that? Or think of when people play, let's say you play a game with a computer game or volleyball or football with friends or pool or whatever people are into. If you knew that you're going to win, no matter what you do, it's going to go your way. Would you play more than once or twice? No, because it's boring. The uncertainty is missing, and that makes it very predictable, and predictable is boring. This is why gambling is so addictive, because they have it figured out, or even just social media and all those things, because the ratio of when you get what you want amongst all the things that you don't want is so fine-tuned that it keeps you coming back. It makes you crave the dopamine hits, right? So that resistance and actually not succeeding or just struggling along the way is such an inherent part to the journey being exciting and fulfilling.
Yes. That's what makes it worthwhile. That's exactly it. As I said earlier to my client yesterday, how long could you live on a beach in the Maldives before you get bored? Because ultimately that is what makes life interesting. That's what makes it purposeful, is the difficulties and challenges that come up along the way. One more thing I want to talk about. Go on, Thomas.
Insert a quick quote, because I think that captures it well. I love to share it. It's about money. And it goes, we make it about money, but it's really about the things that people pursue. Everybody knows that money won't bring you happiness, but everybody wants to find out for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's cool. This guy should go and be on the beach in Maldives for 2 weeks and getting bored and realize, okay, actually, you know what? This is not for me.
Isn't it?
Take the box.
Yeah.
It's the Ferrari, right? Just okay, you have it for a little bit, and you know that life is about something else than that.
That's it. Well, I do want to talk about one more thing. I know we wouldn't get onto sales today. Maybe that's for a future episode. But what I do want to talk about is the importance of environment and community and support to performance. Because this is a mistake that I made in the past, which is, do you know what? Do I need support? I can figure this out on my own. And I just ended up going round in circles, basically making no progress. So now I always make a point of working with someone or within a community, because I find that if I don't, I slip back. There's a great quote around you are the average of the 5 people you spend most time with, something like that, which I think is scientifically backed. But I find being around other high achievers, high performers is essential for my own progress, because what I found is that you kind of fall back to the belief systems of the people you're around most. And it's been incredibly important for me on my own journey to work with coaches like yourself, within community, with other high achievers, people who are looking to push themselves to grow. What's your view on that, Thomas? I guess you would agree with that, but has that been something you experienced with the people you work with as well, in terms of their own progress?
Oh, 100%. Environment is so important. As Daniel Priestley likes to say, environment dictates performance.
Exactly. Yeah.
and look, it's for 2 reasons. First of all, we are psychologically hardwired to conform to the environment that we're in, because we don't really like to stand out. That's like a default thing. Of course, we can force ourselves to do so, but generally would feel uncomfortable. It's a whole kind of evolutionary adaptation. So we will, the environment is constantly influencing us kind of coaching us, if you will, and in whichever way the environment is set up. And so there's this kind of psychological impact. And also the second point is that environment normalizes certain, whatever behavior is happening within the environment. If you hang out with people who talk fitness, they work out every day, they go to eat in healthy places, and or hang out with a bunch of entrepreneurs, and they talk about growth, and they have successful businesses, they talk outsourcing and all that, and maybe working as little as possible, making as much money as possible. In that little environment, that's the norm, right? And if you hang out with them, whether it's the fitness or the entrepreneurship, of money, whatever it may be, or swearing, or the opposites of all these things, over time it will make you feel like, okay, this is how things are done. It's like a microcosm, right? And again, psychologically, you will want to fit in, but it will also affect how you think about things, because that's how our brain works. And so the environment has huge influence. It's in a very, sometimes very kind of overt or silent way. And I would say there are three different kind of aspects to it. The first one is, of course, like the physical environment, the environment that you're in. I love your office, and you have your paintings, and there's some notes on the window or glass.
My daughter's swimming certificates, that is, in the kitchen.
Oh, great. Right. And so the environment that you're in, and we can put it into extreme. Imagine that you're somewhere in a basement amongst boxes, and it's moldy and smelly and dark and so on. It will affect how you feel and how you work, right? If you're in a incredible office with a view, and you got successful posters and quotes everywhere and so on, it will affect how you feel, and it will affect what you think is possible, right? That was one of the reasons why I moved to Canary Wharf. I wanted to kind of expand my environment, and we moved to a beautiful apartment with a view and all that. And it was kind of at the edge of what I was able to afford at the time. And one of my friends, very successful entrepreneur, he said, I asked him, hey, am I being stupid, or should I go for it? He said, go for it. It will pay for itself. And it did, because every day you wake up, you see the view, beautiful floor to ceiling window, beautiful apartment. And it made me feel kind of differently about myself and the way I think as well. So physical environment, things like clutter, and kind of designing. When we moved to this place a month ago, the first thing I did was to set up my office, because I spent so much time here. Right? Even my wife was telling me, like, oh, you're setting up your office, and I'm unpacking the kitchen. So the physical environment. The second thing is, of course, the social environment, which we touched on, the people that you hang out with. If you hang out with people who complain and talk about how things are horrible and things are not possible, and they struggle, and they maybe just go about life the hard way, it will affect you. It will, over time, at first you will think, oh, this is unpleasant. Spend there long enough, you will start thinking, feeling, doing things the same way. Equally, if you hang out with, I don't know, Alex Hormozy crowd, it will affect how you think about business, what's possible. Even just like you do as well, spending time with your clients who are just big ballers.
Yeah.
You're thinking, oh my God, I didn't even think this was possible, right? So that's that. And also I would say that your mental and digital environment, what you're feeding your mind with, what you indulge in kind of mentally, what you spend time thinking about, even like social media. We spend so much time on Instagram and all that. A good hack for social media is, I have those kind of pseudo accounts, where one of them, for example, is all just entrepreneurship stuff. Another one is all like personal development quotes and things like that. Because I don't want to go on Instagram and get this barrage of all the things that I follow. I just want to, be recommended the things that what I'm kind of in the mood for. And So yeah, what you're feeding your time, your mind with, and even just catching yourself not indulging in kind of whinging in your own mind and thinking how,
The victim.
catastrophizing and thinking how things are horrible. So environment has a huge impact on how we feel, how we go about things, how we think about life and ourselves and our relationships, because it normalizes, what's around us and kind of, what's normal, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I mean, I just think when I was back in corporate in advertising, nobody was talking about entrepreneurship, and the idea of creating a business in that in that environment seemed impossible. And then all of a sudden, I put myself in an environment and a community like we connected in, Thomas, and suddenly people are. It's quite normal for people to be talking about 7-figure businesses, and it's like, all right, it may be that's still quite a long way off for people, but the idea then of a 6-figure business, for example, suddenly seems very average for people to talk about that. Everyone's just like, oh yeah, you make 10K a month, and everyone's doing that. It's like, hang on, it just changes your belief system about what's possible, just by talking to people who are living in that world on a regular basis.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you, Thomas. Well, there's other things we want to talk about, so maybe we leave it for the future. But just to finish on today, a lot of the people I connect with, they're in the corporate world. They know they're done with that world. They have a calling. They want to explore more. That feeling of, okay, I know there's more to me, but I've got no idea how to access it, where to start. I'm just thinking, is there one thing you'd say to somebody now that transition point in their lives where they're just feeling like, okay, like you said, okay is not enough. I really want to explore my true potential, whatever that involves. Is there one piece of advice you could crystallize down to give to a person in that position?
For them to kind of try to step into the okay zone.
To make that step, yeah, there's obviously, I always say to people, it's about the pain of the present outweighing the fear of the future. But a lot of people are kind of are stuck there because that the fear of the unknown just kind of keeps them locked into that same pattern, like that pattern of staying where it's comfortable, or not exploring their true potential. So, is there a mindset shift that someone could bring in to help them make that step?
So I think sometimes people shoot themselves in the foot by thinking in kind of ultimate sense, right? Let's say they don't like the job and they start thinking, okay, what would be the job I would love, for the rest of my life? What's the, let's say even the purpose, right? And it could be such a big leap from where they are now to what they expecting themselves the right way of being or working should be, is that it's just such, they can't connect the dots, right? So my recommendation would be is that tell everyone, start small. If you're not happy about something, be honest with yourself. You already got there. If you listen to this and think, oh, maybe that, if you kind of perked up a little bit and think, well, this could be for me. Okay, there is something in your life that you're not at least a little bit happy about. Maybe it's your fitness, maybe it's your job, whatever that may be. Think of, what about this am I not enjoying? Or what about this you feel is kind of below or what you think you're capable of? And then think, okay, so what could be like the baby step? What could I start with to maybe start improving this? Let's say people think, they always had this idea that they would love to have a business. Okay, great. You don't have to come up with a business idea today. Go and listen to some business podcasts. Read some books about business. Follow some of those, business, I'll say, gurus. Just put yourself into that world. Like, do that little thing, and inch by inch, just little by little, let yourself be kind of drawn down that path, because you don't know where it's going to take you, but you know what the first thing could be. Don't be afraid to make a wrong step. You can always step back and just step a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. That's okay. But just like start small, because we can only take it one step at a time anyway. So that would be my probably not very exciting tip, but This is the reality of it. And most people don't get what they want in life because some of the steps are just not exciting or not fun enough. Well, that's that's the price to pay. No one promised that it's going to be jolly all along. But just take the first step.
Yeah. It is. It's like I've just had a vision in my mind of someone looking at the top of Everest and just thinking, forget it. It's impossible. I'm never going to achieve that. Yeah. But like you said, how do you climb a mountain? That old phrase, put one step in front of the other. And maybe you can go break the journey down. Okay, how do I get to base camp? And just focus on that. And then, whatever the next level is on the way up. And again, like we said earlier, enjoying the challenges, embracing the challenges, learning how to process the difficult emotions that come up. That for me has been so important. And so instead of like imagining, everything will be perfect when I get to this future goal, it's like, great. I really am looking forward to some difficult stuff coming up and, getting support when that comes along, because that ultimately is the power in the journey, is the person you become along the way. And again, these are kind of classic quotes we hear all the time, but it's so true.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's the journey that will transform your identity. It's not the finish line. It's like,
there is no finish line.
As cliche as it is, or as it sounds, it's who you become along the way.
Yeah, exactly that. Thank you, Thomas. That was a beautiful conversation. So much value. Really appreciate your time today. And I said, we'll have to do this again in the new year, because that's a time when people are really experiencing the challenges. I think something like 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February. So we all have good intentions, motivation fades. Totally. And then, that's when we need some help along the journey. But I'll let you go. Thanks so much for joining, Thomas. Any way you'd like to guide people to your LinkedIn or your website? I'll put the link in the about us below. If
anything I've shared with you resonated, please follow me on LinkedIn. It's just my name. And I share a lot of, 5 times a week, tips and insights and stories and fun stuff, all kind of around this personal development and how to do better than okay. So follow me there and drop me a message if you come through the podcast, and I'd love to hear from you.
And I think you actually offer a free call, don't you? Like 90-minute free call, which is incredible. Like to go over someone's challenges and help them on that journey.
Yeah, totally. Kind of to get people started and give them a little bit of a push. So if somebody is interested and they want help in the areas that I can help them with, probably something that we touch on in the podcast, then I'd be more than happy to have a chat.
Fantastic. And also, I'm always saying about my own website, thebuddhaspot.com, free purpose alignment assessment, so you can get an idea of how aligned you are at the moment with these different aspects of purpose in your life. But let's leave it there for today. Thomas, thank you so much for joining. And hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Pleasure. Thanks for joining, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.